This is CBS News New York.
Right now at 5, breaking news: a partial government shutdown now in effect. Hundreds of thousands of federal workers furloughed, agencies paused. What it means for you.
A community in mourning. 2 teenage girls killed in a hit and run. Now disturbing claims about the driver's past.
More than 1 million New Yorkers in rent-stabilized apartments will see higher bills starting today. We're live with what tenants need to know.
Good morning on this Wednesday, October 1st. I'm Chris Raggi.
And I'm Mary Calvi. And let's get you right over to Tony Sadiku as your first alert forecast from the virtual studio. It's 5 o'clock right now. What are we expecting, Tony?
Good morning, guys. So we got a cooler day today, and it's going to be cooler by like 10 to 15 degrees across a good portion of the region. So just want you to be ready for that right out the gate as we talk about this pattern change. We advertised how there'd be a cold front that would move through. Well, it's here now. That cooler air behind it, high pressure is starting to nudge in. It's bringing in a breezy wind. Highs only 60s, for mornings 50s, 40s, and even in a frost and freeze, a possibility far north and west. The difference is not that dramatic when you look at the numbers. 5, 10 degrees this morning. Got 50s and 40s, but it's not as cool as it's going to get as we talk about the forecast. Upper 60s is where we'll be. The story's high pressure that's dominating. And when you look at the future cast here across the country, you can see how that high is a force, keeping our pattern quiet, dry, and uneventful likely into the weekend. But by the way, warm but is on the way too. We'll have much more on that coming up. 5:01, let's send it over to Guy Stanier. Find out the latest in your first alert traffic early on a Wednesday morning, Guy.
Good morning, Tony. Well, the big story overnight was the suspension on LIRR's Hempstead branch. A vehicle damaged both tracks as well as the third rail near Nassau Boulevard. Currently, crews have fixed the problem. Everything is running on time, but we will keep a very close eye on this as the commute picks up. We may see trains running on a single track for the morning. If that happens, we could see some suspensions and cancellations, but for now, everything is running on time. Once again, we have a heads up for New Jersey Transit riders. The Gladstone branch and the Morrison-Essex line are running with 20-minute delays due to track repairs between Milburn and Summit. And in East Rutherford, New Jersey, we have a water main break. It is at least one lane blocked on the southbound side of Route 120. Also, the northbound western spur is closed for construction on the turnpike. Traffic is using the eastern spur, no delays through the area. Alternate side parking is in effect today citywide. Chris and Mary, back to you.
5:02 right now in breaking news this morning. A government shutdown now underway. Lawmakers remaining deadlocked, failing to agree on a funding plan.
The midnight deadline coming and going, leaving many wondering what happens next. Aziza Shuler joins us live here in the studio with more details.
Good morning, Chris and Mary. Well, this government shutdown is just a partial one, but it will depend on its duration. The Congressional Budget Office estimates about 750,000 employees will be furloughed a day, and several agencies are on pause. As the clock struck midnight, the U.S. Senate adjourned in a stalemate, failing to reach a deal on federal funding. A Republican-led short-term spending bill could not garner the bipartisan support needed to fund the government through November 21st.
Senate Democrats said no. Why? Because far-left interest groups and far-left Democrat members wanted a showdown with the president.
The bill falling 5 votes short of the required 60 to pass. All but 2 upper chamber Democrats standing firm on their demands from the GOP to reverse cuts to Medicaid and extend health care allowances, including benefits from the Affordable Care Act that expired this year.
We need to deal with this health care crisis now, not later. But the Republican bill fails to do that.
We're not going to support a partisan Republican spending bill that continues to gut the health care of the American people. Not now, not ever.
Furloughs and potential layoffs will halt some government operations, but benefits like Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security will continue, although there could be delays. Other essential agencies such as the TSA, FBI, CIA, and even the military will continue working without pay. National parks like Patterson Great Falls in New Jersey, the Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island, which welcome upwards of 20,000 visitors a day, could potentially remain open but unstaffed.
A lot of good can come down from shutdowns. We can get rid of a lot of things that we didn't want, and they'd be Democrat things.
It's been 7 years since the last government shutdown during President Trump's first term. That one lasted 35 days, the longest in the country's history, and cost the government roughly $3 billion.
Well, the Democrats want to shut it down, so when you shut it down, you have to do layoffs. So we'd be laying off a lot of people that are going to be very affected.
Congress is back in session today, and Senate Majority Leader John Thune says he's hoping that enough Democrats will change their votes to reopen the government. Chris.
Lisa, thank you. And stay with CBS News New York for continuing coverage of the government shutdown. We'll have its impacts on air and online at cbsnewyork.com.
5:05 right now to the tightening governor's race in New Jersey. There's an investigation underway into the release of Democrat Mikey Sherrill's military records. Sherrill has Senator campaign around her service as a Navy helicopter pilot. She's locked in a tough battle against Jack Ciattarelli, a Republican endorsed by President Trump. The National Archives wrongly released those military records to an ally of Ciattarelli. The Archives Inspector General will investigate the matter.
A wild scene overnight on the Upper East Side. Firefighters responding to this car fire on 91st Street and Park Avenue. You can see an SUV burning outside the brick church. So far, we've had no reports of any injuries or any possible arrests.
Now to the tragic loss of 2 teens hit and killed while riding an e-bike in Cranford, New Jersey. A crisis team will be on hand today to assist students in the school district. Christina Fan joins us live from the scene where a vigil was held for the girls. Christina.
Mary, good morning. Behind us, you can see just some of the candles, flowers, and balloons left behind from last night's vigil, where we learned new disturbing details about this horrific crash. Relatives and friends of the victims say the 2 girls knew the hit-and-run driver. They also say a restraining order was filed against the young man after he stalked one of the victims. Dozens came out to this quiet residential street in Cranford to mourn the loss of the 2 17-year-old victims, identified by their loved ones as Maria Neotis and Isabella Salas. Police say the 2 girls were riding an e-bike on Burnside Avenue Monday night when the driver of a black SUV fatally struck them and then fled the scene before being taken into custody later on that evening. Friends described Isabella as an amazing singer who loved performing in musicals and a cappella. They describe Maria as fun and kind and say her twin brother is devastated by the loss.
I hugged him last night, and all he said was, "They killed my sister." And what do you say?
Last night, I don't think any of us had a decent night's sleep because it could be our own.
Authorities have not released details about the driver or if the collision was an accident or intentional. The Union County Prosecutor's Office is asking neighbors who live nearby to check their surveillance and dash cameras. They are specifically looking for this 2021 black Jeep Compass with tinted windows before, during, or after Monday's crash. The superintendent of Cranford School says counseling will be made available to any students who need to talk. For now, reporting live from Cranford, New Jersey, Christina Fan, CBS News, New York.
Christina, thank you. Now to the Bronx, where a man and a woman were shot and taken to the hospital. Shooting happened around 6 last night on Webster Avenue and East 187th Street in the Fordham section. Witnesses say they heard 7 to 10 shots. The man was shot several times in the torso. The woman grazed in the leg. Security video shows a person dressed in black running and shooting, but so far no arrests have been made.
5:08 right now. A federal judge has denied a request from Sean Diddy Combs for an acquittal or a new trial. Combs will be sentenced on Friday following his conviction on prostitution-related charges. Prosecutors are asking the judge to put him in prison for more than 11 years, while the defense wants 14 months. In a letter submitted by Combs' former girlfriend and star witness, she asked the judge to consider her suffering during sentencing.
Well, happening today, rents are going up for more than 1 million New Yorkers who live in rent-stabilized apartments across the city.
It comes after the city's Rent Guidelines Board approved those rent hikes back in June. Elijah Westbrook is live in East Harlem with more on what tenants can expect today. Elijah.
That's right. Good morning to you, Mary and Chris. So right now, as we speak, tenants who live in rent-stabilized apartments will see their rents increase, as you mentioned. Of course, this was all established just months ago, specifically back in June by the city's Rent Guidelines Board. So let's go ahead and refresh your memory and tell you what we know at this time. 1-year leases will go up 3%, and 2-year leases will see a 4.5% increase. Now, keep in mind that these are for leases starting on or after October 1st. 1st through September 30th of next year. Now, this move is certainly controversial. In fact, here's video you may recall from June when the Rent Guidelines Board approved those hikes. Some residents at the time who attended the final vote here in East Harlem held signs reading "Freeze the Rent" and shouted at the 9-member board saying the move goes too far, adding the rising cost of living is forcing them out of their apartments. Small landlord groups, however, argue that the increases are needed to cover growing maintenance and operating costs of their properties, some of which are more than a century old. That's the latest at this time. From East Harlem, Elijah Westbrook, CBS News, New York.
Elijah, thank you. 5:10 right now. Let's bring back Tony Sadiku from the virtual studio. Look at those temperatures, Tony.
Yeah, Mary, so we talked earlier about how the difference in temperatures wasn't that dramatic, but I just want to show you what is more dramatic, and that is the change in air mass. The dew points, which measures the dryness of the air. That humidity, if you felt any at all, is long gone now. Dew points in the 30s. That's like bone dry air. It's like moisturizer kind of air. You're going to need that chapstick, too. It's a bright, sunny day. Light jacket in the morning, sunglasses all day long. It's upper 60s under a dazzling blue sky. There's your first alert flyby from our Chevy Chopper, all as well weather-wise, but let's check in on the traffic situation at 5:10 as we send it back over to Guy Stanier. What do you got?
Good morning, Tony. Well, the big story overnight, we had a suspension on LIRR's Hempstead branch. A vehicle damaged both tracks as well as the third rail right near Nassau Boulevard. Currently, crews have fixed the problem and everything is running on time, but we will keep a close eye on this. We may see some delays as single tracking may occur during the commute. Currently, everything running on or close to schedule. Taking a live look outside, the LIE in Brentwood, traffic is moving well at 5:11 this morning, but just a reminder, the Clean Pass program for the HOV lane has ended. Zero and low emission vehicles now need 2 passengers to use the HOV lane. Over to New Rochelle, we have construction in both directions on the New England Thruway between exits 16 and 15. We're starting to see those usual delays building up. The hutch is wide open. Alternate side parking is in effect today citywide. Chris and Mary, back to you.
Guy, thank you. It is 5:11 right now. Coming up, 2 popular digital real estate companies under fire. The federal antitrust lawsuit Zillow and Redfin are now facing.
Pfizer strikes a deal with the Trump administration. Why this could create lower drug prices and a new way to buy